The Tokyo Olympics and the cluster of COVID cases that seem to be popping up. So, Mike, why isn't this as simple as everyone just getting vaccinated and quarantining in country ahead of the games? Why do you think inoculation wasn't required?
It certainly is an issue that so many people have been asking. They've been asking this for weeks and months, and not only with when it comes to the Olympic Games, but when it comes to Major League Baseball, when it comes to the NBA. This is an issue that if everyone was vaccinated, if they did have breakthrough cases, there would be much shorter times for quarantining. People wouldn't need to be dropping out. One of the issues that a lot of nations are facing, some of the first arrivers from the South African contingent, from their football team, their soccer team, and from their rugby team, had the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. So that's only about 70% effective versus some of the other Olympians that are coming from different states. Say here in the U.S., Pfizer and Moderna, higher level of vaccination rates up into the 90s. So that's something that if they just would have taken the time to actually mandate it, this issue could have not been at the forefront and all anyone is really talking about now and will continue to talk about because the games haven't even started and we're having this much news about it.
Well, it hasn't even started, and really organizers had an extra year to prepare. This was supposed to happen last summer,
Sure.
and they had time to watch how this virus impacted professional sports. You mentioned some of those there. We saw bubbles last year with the NBA. We also just saw Copa America and Euro 2020 in Europe. Couldn't some of the things that they did be replicated? Because, I mean, we're asking, look, we know what's happened. We know what works. What's the complication?
The complication is that the Tokyo Olympic Committee has been so focused on actually just getting these games off. There's no forethought into what actually happens once these athletes come and what happens once positive tests start coming up. There's still not a strict rule in place or even an awareness of what happens if someone gets through the qualifying, if they're in the semifinals or the finals of a specific event and they test positive. What happens if the U.S. men's basketball team, much like is happening now, have 3 positives? They have an injury. They have a player that can't play. What happens? Are they actually able to play these games? So one of the things that the Olympic Committee spent so much time trying to do is just try to sway public opinion in terms of having these games go off. Well, we've seen that been a massive failure, especially among the Japanese population who have a historically low vaccination rate and a historically high disapproval rate of these Olympics. I think their vaccination rate is around 20%. Disapproval rate for having these games is upwards of 80%. And one of their biggest national car companies, Toyota, has pulled all of their domestic advertising. So that's really a black eye on them as well. So much of this could have been avoided in the planning stages. And as you mentioned, they had over a year to plan for this.
One last quick question, about 10, 15 seconds left. Any chance that some of the events could get postponed or drawn out because of potential positive cases or even canceled?
I think that's 100% certainty that some of these events, lower level events, where if 1 or 2 participants fall ill, the whole event may come crashing down. So I think that this is just going to be the first domino that falls, and I think we'll definitely see some vacated medals and events that just don't really even happen.
All right, Mike Bako, always great to get your take. Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.